saying it's time for UK to give up its permanent seat in the Security Council to India. I mean, the British should be gracious about it, right? They got to rule India for 200 years, so least they can do is repay back India by giving their permanent seat to India. I'm surprised that that suggestion wasn't picked up in India by more people, you know. But at the same time, it's clear that other poles are also emerging and have to be accepted. Clearly, India is going to be the third pole. In India is, now in theory, the fifth largest economy. By 2030, it'll be the third largest economy. It'll overtake Japan and Germany without any doubt whatsoever. So India has the capacity to be the third pole. But to function as a third pole, it's best for India to be like the animal on the seesaw, somewhere in the middle. So if one side you have China, on the other side you have US, where India puts its foot determines where the seesaw goes, So that's an ideal position for India to be in that competition, which means that you want to have some degree of functioning relationship with both and the capacity to talk to both. And I want to emphasize that this is not a frivolous point. This is actually a serious point. The one thing I learned after being ambassador to the UN for over 10 years is that the founders of the UN intended the veto to be given to the great powers of the day and not the great powers of yesterday, which is why the British have gone by their sell-by date already. And it's time for the British to give up their seat, their permanent seat. And I want to emphasize that the British are acutely aware that their seat is hard to justify, which is why they haven't used their veto for over 40 years, 50 years. They dare not use their veto. The minute they use their veto, everyone will say, who are you? That's why they don't even dare to. So they are internally aware that the sell-by date has come. But so these are the structural.
The influence of the African Union, CELAC, and other regional associations is growing. These new realities have not yet been adequately reflected in our organization's institutional framework. The issue of Security Council reform is particularly important. Russia calls for its democratization exclusively through the expansion of the representation of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. We support the application of Brazil and India for permanent seats on the Council, while at the same time correcting the historical injustice towards Africa within the parameters that have been agreed by the countries of the continent themselves.
Central to the erosion of the UN's credibility has been resistance to reform. Most members strongly desire change, but the process is being made an obstacle to the outcome. It is imperative that we see through this cynicism and purposefully address the reform agenda. The historical injustice done to Africa should be redressed. Both permanent and non-permanent membership of the Council must be expanded. A reformed Council must be truly representative, and India stands ready to assume greater responsibilities.